Alright, hey, it's Cole. Today I'm going to talk about a subject that is very near and dear to my heart, and should be near and dear to your hearts too. Vampires. I mean, I love vampires. Don't you love vampires? Vampires are awesome, you know? You don't need me to tell you why. We all have our opinions on vampires. Aha! And that's where this comes in. There's opinions and there's views and everything like that, but then there's right and there's wrong. And I think, vampires have permeated pop culture to the point nowadays where there's all sorts of accepted views of them, and then there's differing depictions of them and what have you, and that's good. Variety's good, but still, I think there's certain rules and things and archetypes that we should always try to follow and conform to a certain extent. Anyway, like I said, vampires have been everywhere in culture for forever. The 20th century and beyond, and even before that, when they were just, folk tales and legends and that sort of thing. But it all started here, really, Bram Stoker's Gothic masterpiece, Dracula, written in 1897. This is one of the zillions of editions of the books. This is a Bantam classic. Anyway, and to me, the source material, the absolute source material, is still the best thing to draw from. And I think the best people who tell stories with vampires still do. Anyway, so yeah, today, well, you know what's going on. I'd like to comment a little on the sort of, for lack of a better word, pussification of vampires in pop culture today. I mean, what's going on with this? Twilight and all this bullshit. I'm so tired of, vampires being depicted this way now, I get that they're supposed to be sexy. Yes, that's a big part of them, that they have sexual power over us and that sort of thing. But I'm tired of seeing vampires humanized, I must say. I'm tired of romances between humans and vampires and romances between vampires, all that. I usually, if you ask me, say a good story is a good story, and I don't really mind what the subject matter is, but everybody has their limits and their opinions, and mine is, I'm just really friggin' sick of seeing vampires brought down this way. I like that they're not human. They're monsters. They can pass for human and that sort of thing, but the fact is they're monsters, demons. They're not alive or dead. They're a living undeath type thing, and, if you're, in any good story, a human who gets turned to a vampire, well, they don't hold on to their humanity for very long. After a while, poof, it's gone. They become evil creature of the night, whatever. That's the way I like it, and there's good, and there's still bad examples of this, but still, there's some really great examples of this, and, I want to trace a lot of it back to, I'm just going to lay the blame squarely to begin with on Anne Rice. I really don't like Anne Rice. I've read a lot of her stuff, don't like it. I think she's a bad writer, a poor writer, so Anne Rice fans, have at me, whatever, I don't care. Yeah, Interview with the Vampire and all that nonsense. I'm not going to say she doesn't depict vampires as scary or evil or anything like that, but I really think a lot of this stuff that's going on nowadays has really started with her, because I'm so tired of vampires being seen as sympathetic characters. And that's another thing. Remember the 1992 movie Bram Stoker's Dracula? They even, they took from this and called it Bram Stoker's. Well, as I recall that movie, they seem to leave out a whole bunch of stuff from the novel and add in their own things, and one of the main things they decided to do was to really humanize Dracula, show him as this guy that felt betrayed by God, gave up his humanity, blah, 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 and he's depicted as a tragic character, and throughout the movie he has what turns into like a real romance with Mina Harker, which is just, so tiresome, and I don't want to care, I don't want to see that, I just don't. So anyway, here's something a little more refreshing that's going on today. Finally, 4 minutes in, we'll talk about the comic. The very well-known, celebrated graphic novel, 30 Days a Night. This is the only one I've read. I picked this up about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. Written by Steve Niles and illustrated by Ben Tibblesmith. And what's great about it, one thing that's really refreshing, is that it just brings vampires back into being monsters again, They're not, they're not pets. They're not cute. They're not romantic. They're sadistic. They're evil, and they're scary. And it's just nice to see. I'm pretty sure most of you are familiar with the story. If you're not, it takes place in the far north, the northernmost town in Alaska, and possibly in North America, Barrow, Alaska, and it's just about these vampires that figure out that since up that far north, the sun will go down for as much as 30 days, so 30 days of night, there you go, and the whole idea is that vampires are at their peak at nighttime, out of the daylight. Some stories have vampires, they can't be in the sunlight at all. Some stories have that vampires can be in the sunlight, but they don't have their powers or whatever. So anyway, this works for either way. So it's just about these vampires that get together and terrorize the town in a concentrated attack, just so they can just have this crazy orgy of blood and destruction. And it's about the group of people that try to survive and make it through, focusing especially on the local law enforcement sheriff type guy there and his wife. One of the things that I like a lot about this, and usually, like me, I'm a writer, and I will suffer through subpar art if the story's good, but I think the art might even be better than the story. It's a very simple story. Not that that's bad. Simplicity is wonderful. This story is focused, simple, it's refreshing. Like I said, you know me now. I love Marvel and stuff like that. I love big, complicated storylines. I love crazy, multiple points of view that go every which way. But a good, just focused, straightforward story is great every now and again for me, too. I wish I could show you better on this, the art. Again, done by Ben Templesmith. Sort of a painting thing, but never really shows up too well when I try to show you stuff. But like, look at that. There's just the bar, and you'll just notice there's no harsh lines or anything. Things just sort of bleed into each other, and then they begin and end wherever you think they might. You can see the building there and the sky. There's no harsh line separating them, and it's just that sort of stuff. And then so everything's really dark, obviously, because of the town. But then you have these really bright reds, for all the blood that shows up in it, and it just looks really great. And like I said, obviously this has given way to all sorts of sequels that I have not looked into yet and want to, because it's certainly got my interest. But priorities being what they are, when you read as many comics and things like I do, it's hard to prioritize. Sometimes you really want to get into something, but then you have to wait a few months before you get the chance, the money or the time or whatever. And one thing that I found reading this that I'm sure a lot of veteran comic people might have noticed, the art's sort of reminiscent of the art in another great graphic novel, probably a lot better, Batman Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on Serious Earth. Grant Morrison, a lot of people think this is basically a masterpiece. This is the 15th anniversary edition, soft cover. It's not about vampires or anything like that, it's about Batman, but when we do talk about Batman, I'll have to touch on this, because, Batman fans, you haven't read this is essential reading. But anyway, the art is somewhat similar, the painting, not really any harsh lines, things bleeding into each other, more colors, and that sort of thing. And anyway, like I said, it doesn't have anything to do with vampires, I just thought I'd touch on it. But, yeah, 30 Days of Night. I don't have a lot to say on it, except that it's a nice, focused, simple story. Has a beginning, middle, and ending, If you saw the movie was a pretty fair adaptation, because like I said, it's not too hard to adapt, really. One thing that's good about the movie, again, is that I want to focus on, is that the vampires are scary, the vampires are brutal and sadistic. The vampires, you don't feel sorry for them, you don't sympathize with them. Here they are, they're terrorizing people, they're not just killing us, but, they're taking pleasure in it, and that sort of thing. So yeah, there's a couple things in here that don't find their way into the movie. Little subplot that I'm sure was actually meant to, it's not so important here, but be important later on in sequels, with some people that are down in, I believe, Louisiana, that are obviously aware of the vampires and they're aware of this attack, and a mother sends her son only to get video footage of it because they want to expose the whole thing. And I don't want to ruin the ending, but if you've seen any of that and you know how it ends, most of the people die. But there's a survivor. There's at least one important survivor, and she feels it's her duty to tell the world about the existence of vampires, and it goes on from there. I'm pretty sure the next one is 30 Days of Night, Dark Days, which I want to read, and I'll get to it. Because, like I said, I believe in it, because there's just so many sources of vampires in popular culture today, and I'm not saying they're all bad. Obviously, tons are great. I mean, I love all sorts of stuff. But one of the trends I've just noticed lately, it's been building, is, just all this romanticism and all this touchy-feely stuff. And, some of it's been alright. I saw the movie Let the Right One In, and I have the book now. I haven't read it yet. And it's pretty, it explores those same themes, but to me still keeps the vampire, while it is a main character we're sympathizing with. I'm running out of time. Anyway, I hope this wasn't just a useless ramble. Like I said, this is a good book if you want to see what vampires are really like. What they're really like. Hey, cool, they're not real. Well, we'll see about that, right? Anyway, I hope this was informative to some degree and not just a rant. I'll look at it and I'll decide. I'll see you later. See you next time. Thanks for watching.